Alright guys, so we are going to start talking about quadratic functions. So we've already talked a little bit about it and a little bit about the graph when we started this last section. But we're going to get more into the vocabulary of the graph today, and then we're going to get into actually starting to graph it a little bit. So first of all, I just want to say whenever you have an equation, you have a line of some sort. So if you have an equation that has an x squared in it, you're going to have this type of graph right here. It's either going to go up like this or it's going to face down. And we're going to talk about what those are called here in just a second. So on your notes here, we're going to fill in some of these blanks for the vocabulary. So it says, let me bring this down, too short. It says that a U-shaped graph such as the one at the right is called a parabola. I'm not really sure if you can see that very well. Maybe I'll write in blue. It's called a parabola. And the first thing it says, a blank can open blank or blank. So a parabola can open up or down. So that's what I was just talking about. It's either going to open up or it's going to open down. I say it's like a smiley face or a frowny face. And then a parabola that opens up. So a parabola that opens upward has a blank or a lowest point. So if it's opening up, it's going to have this point down here. It says, or a lowest point, and we're going to call that a minimum. And then it says a parabola that opens downward. So if you look down here at this one's opening downward, so it's got this highest point, or we're going to call that a maximum. And then it says the blank of a parabola is its minimum or maximum. So these points right here, the minimum and maximums, there's just one word that we use to describe both. So sometimes we're just in general talking about those points. That is going to be the vertex. The vertex of a parabola is its minimum or maximum point. All parabolas have a line or blank of symmetry. We call it an axis of symmetry. And what that means is it's just talking about this imaginary line that goes through, and it acts as though like a line of symmetry. So it means that it's kind of like mirroring over that line. Like it looks like it's a mirror, and it's got this mirror image on either side. So this one right here would have it right here. And it always goes through the vertex. So that line of symmetry is always going to be through that vertex point. All right, so let's move on. So we've got some vocabulary down. Minimum, maximum, vertex, parabola. We know they either open up or down. So now we're going to talk about, it says, what is the vertex of the graph below? Is it a minimum or maximum? So we have to identify the vertex point. You identify a point by naming its coordinates. So it's ordered pair, x and y. So this first one, it says the graph opens downward. So you're looking for the highest point. The vertex is, so this point that we already pointed out here, we're going to have to name that point with its ordered pair. So it is at -1, 2, 3. So -3 for your x. And again, that's your x, and then your y is 2. So -3 and 2. And it is a blank. So what is this point? Minimum or maximum? It's opening up, or it's opening downward, so it has a highest point. Highest point is a maximum. So it says with a partner. Now you're not going to partner up since we're doing this kind of on your own, since everyone's kind of at different spots right now. So you're going to try this on your own, but what we're going to do is I'm going to have you pause this because I'm going to go ahead and fill it out and talk through this. So I'm going to have you pause and try it on your own for a second, and then push play again and see if you actually had what I had. So push pause right now. Stop cheating. Push pause. Okay, so hopefully you're now back and you've tried this on your own. And so I'm just going to talk through these. So here is your, and it is a minimum. And it is the 0.31. Number 3, it was a minimum. And I know they're minimums because they're at the very bottom. They're the lowest point. The lowest is always like the minimum. So the ordered pair for it is going to be 1, -6. And then number 4 was a maximum. And it was at point -3, -1. Hopefully you got those all right. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next page. At the very top it says, note that the standard form of a quadratic function is, and it says y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0, meaning you have an x squared in your equation. So this right here is pretty important. You may want to highlight that. This is what we've been dealing with when we were factoring and solving by factoring. So we had that equation. Just wanted to point that out to you. What we're going to work on graphing today is just where the bx is gone. So we're just going to work on those for right now. So it says, what is the graph of 1/2 x squared minus 4? So if you notice, you've got this ax squared, and you've got a constant, but you're missing that bx. And that's fine. Those are still quadratics. They're still going to be parabolas when we graph them. They're just a little bit easier to graph, so we're going to deal with them first, and then we will move into the harder ones. So it says, this quadratic function, you've got your a is 1/2, b is 0, and c is -4. Just identifying that. And then the graph will be a parabola. Use a table to find some points in the graph. Then use what you know about parabolas to complete the graph. So basically, they've made this table for you. I don't know if you remember the function tables that we would make when we first started graphing linear equations, where you had your x that you selected, you put your equation in here, and then like you had your y. This is slightly different because we're going to get our y here, and then we're just going to put our x and y together here, our ordered pair, so we just plot these points. So you got a -4 for your x, so we plugged it into the x spot, so it's 1/2, and then you've got your -4 squared, and it is in parentheses, which means it's -4 times -4. So -4 times -4 is going to give you a positive 16. So this right here is a positive 16. Then you're going to take half of that. Half of 16, that's 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. So our ordered pair is -4, 4. I've got my next one, we plugged in -2 where the x is. So it's 1/2, and then in parentheses, you're always going to plug it in parentheses, -2, and then that's squared, and then -4. So you've got -2 times -2, which is going to give you a positive 4. And then 1/2 of 4 is 2. And 2 minus 4, oh, now we've got a negative number. 2 minus 4, that's going to give you a -2. So our x is -2 and our y is -2. They chose the x 0, so they put 0 in for x. That's the fun one because it's pretty easy to do. 0 times 0 is 0. Half of 0 is 0. So you just have this -4. So we've got 0 for our x and -4 for our y. The next one, they chose 2 this time, not a negative, a positive 2. you're always going to want to choose some positives and negatives when you're doing these. If the x's aren't given to you and you get to choose them, always choose positives and negatives. Okay, so we've got 2 squared, which is 4. 1/2 of 4 is 2, and 2 minus 4 is -2. Isn't that the same? We got that up here, didn't we? That's because these are going to end up being the same because they're the same distance from the line of symmetry, and I'll show you that when we start plotting. But you will end up repeating some of your y's. Your x was different, so that x was -2. We got -2 as our y. This is 2, and we got -2 as our y. All right, so we've got the number 4, so it's a positive 4 that I plugged in for x. So that's 4 squared is 16. Half of 16 is 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. We've got another repeat. 4 and 4. All right, so now we're going to plot these points on the graph here. So first thing I usually do is go and graph that or label the numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Am I even going to be able to? Yeah, I'll be able to graph them all. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Okay, so I've got the point -4 and 4. So -4 for my x, 4 for my y. That's this point right here. -2, -2. So -2, -2 is here. And 0, -4. So 0, -4. The -4 is in the y, so I'm on the y at -4. And then 2, -2. So 2, -2 is going to be here. And then 4, 4 is there. And it says to complete the graph based upon what you know about these types of graphs. So you know that these are going to be like U-shaped. So it's not going to be a straight line. We're not going to connect these all with straight lines. We're going to kind of curve them out. So start here and kind of curve with it. And you're going to kind of keep the curve going. Now, when I was talking to you about the line of symmetry or the axis of symmetry, it always goes through the vertex. The vertex is this point right here. That was our lowest point. So that line or the axis of symmetry is actually the y-axis. It's not always. It's just going to be when your b is missing. So our b is missing. And so that means that it's going to be symmetric over these. So it makes sense that this y value is the same here and here, and that this y value is the same here and here. All right. The next thing, I'm going to show you another one, number 5, and then it says with a partner. If someone near you is done, or they're at this with a partner spot, then you can work with them on this. But this is kind of the on your own section that I'm going to ask you to do and then check your answers with me. I'm not showing you the answers on here. You'll have to come to me and check it. So number 5, they didn't make the table for us. So we're going to have to make our own little table. And you can do it however you want. I recommend having your X spot, having the spot where you plug it in, and then having your Y spot or an ordered pair spot, which is what we did before. So I'm going to go ahead, since we did that before, I'm going to do that here because I'm going to put my ordered pair together here so I know what I'm plotting. And then this is my X that I'm choosing, and then this is where I'm going to plug in my number for my X. We had 5 points before, so we're going to choose 5 points again. So let's always choose a 0. So I'm always going to choose 0. And then maybe -2, -1, and 1 and 2. Why not? So I'm going to plug in y equals -2, and always put it in parentheses. And then I'm going to plug in -1, again in parentheses where the x is. Y equals 0 squared plus 5. Y equals 1 squared plus 5. Y equals 2 squared plus 5. And I always put in parentheses, it does matter when you've got this negative, but here it wouldn't really matter. It's just easy for me to see that I did plug it into the right spot. All right, now I'm going to work these out. So -2 squared, -2 times -2 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. So that is going to be my y, and my x is -2. -1 times -1 is 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. So I've got -1 and 6. 0 squared is 0. 0 plus 5 is 5. So I've got 0 and 5. 1 squared is 1. Plus 5 is 6. 1 and 6. I'm repeating my y's again, right? And you should. Because we chose similar numbers. So I'm going to have 2 squared is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. 2 and 9. All right, so I'm going to plot these points. Again, you should label. Oh, look, I'm not going to be able to graph them all because I don't have enough. So that tells me that I need to count by 2's then. So it's better to catch that before you really start graphing. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. -2, -4, -6, -8, 10, -2, -4, -6. All right, plot my points. I've got at -2, so my x is -2 and my y is 9, so that's going to be between the 8 and 10. So right there. And then I've got -1, so that's going to be between the 0 and -2, and 6. And then 0, 5, so that's going to be here. And then 1, 6, which would be here. And then 2, 9, 2, 9, which is here. Oh, we use such a little part of this graph. It's such a cute little parabola. And then you just make you kind of curve it out. Again, you do not make straight lines, you kind of curve it to make your parabola. All right, this is all I got for you. So I've done 2 examples of the graphing. I want you to try these 2. Again, you can choose any numbers you want, but if you want to match yours with my answer key that I'm going to have, I'm going to use these numbers, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so I'm going to use these x's for my answer key. So if you want to see if you did your math correctly when you were doing it, like if you mess up and you want to see where you messed up, I would recommend using those numbers. Okay, that's all I got. Check your work with me when you're done and then move on to the next step.